Fahamme, everyone.
Fahamme.
As always, I'd like to begin by explaining the meaning of this term. Those of you who are unfamiliar with the term Fahamme, it means divine understanding. It is also the name of the new Kemite culture, founded on the background of our ancestral worship, our noble ancestors, ancient and divine, whose wisdom graced the land of Egypt, Ethiopia, Arabia, Chaldea, Canaan, and the entire torrid zone, the torrid belt of the mystic name Ethiopia. Fahamme. First, I'd like to start off by saying thanks to Brother Kofi and the entire Sabayet Cultural Community for allowing us to be here again. And I also would like to say thanks to each and every one of you for coming out to share this evening of cultural dialogue. But before we begin, I'd like to announce a few housekeeping notes. The restroom is through this door, to your left, down the hall, and then to your left again, and you'll see it. There are some refreshments in the back. I think Manette has some juice. Do you have anything else besides juice back there, Manette?
We get the popcorn ready.
And we'll have some popcorn back there if you'd like to get up and have a snack. And if you have cell phones, I ask that you would please put your cell phones on vibrate or turn them down. It's really, really low. Okay, thanks again. And welcome to the classroom. Now, a classroom is a place where you learn. The purpose of this lecture is to teach, to share, and to give you some understanding. Something that you can use as a starting point to help yourself and your people. We want to give you something of substance that you can take away from here. I said that the classroom was a place where you learn. To learn means to acquire knowledge by study. So, if there is to be some progress or learning taking place here tonight, then it will take some doing on your part. You see, to study means to investigate. Don't take the high priest's word for it. Study. And once true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding has been acquired, apply it. That is how progress is made. Enough. I'm not the one who's teaching the class tonight. It's my job to introduce the teacher. And as I have bore witness in the past, the true teacher indeed. The Fahamme High Priest, Ptah was taught by the adept High Sheikh Wabra Samahi, who was taught by the Fahamme Rasool, the prophet of Amun-Ra. But the most important thing I can say about the high priest is that he learned his lesson. He learned his lesson well, very well. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, in his continuation of the Need for Culture lecture series, the Fahamme High Priest.
Thank you for that warm introduction. All I got to do is try to live up to half of what you said. As always, I want to extend appreciation to Brother Kobe and the Sabayet organization for allowing us to come to their facility and share our message with you. As you know, when we started this about 3 years ago, I think now, the lecture series is titled "The Need for Culture," and that is still the title of the series. I believe this is the sixth or seventh lecture in that series. Okay, so the seventh lecture in that series is titled "The Science of Unity." Today, as in no prior time, the black race is engaged in a myriad of activities on every social level. While the activities that the race is engaged in vary greatly, the underlying theme of all of the activities seem to have as its purpose self-discovery, realization of self, and expression, with the ultimate goal being that of developing a greater self-appreciation. In acknowledging this phenomenon, I like to refer to the explanation given by the Honorable Paul Nathaniel Johnson, which states that since the advent of his Holy Spirit, Negro culture clubs are springing up everywhere. In plainer language, what the prophet said was that the effort to find ourselves was launched with his mission to lead us into the emerging age. He was the avant-garde of the spiritual revival of the ancient ones. With and through him, the restraints withholding the advance of the spirits of our noble ancestors were broken and fell away. The spirits of our noble ancestors, those we know of and those we do not know of, are poised to re-enter our lives. The accumulated spiritual energies of our long, silent, noble ancestors have been unleashed by Amun-Ra, God of the race, and they are standing ready to aid and assist us. Today, there is no area of endeavor where the Kemite or the black race is not attempting to distinguish his unique self and break free of the behaviors foisted upon him during his 12,000-year era of suppression. During this 12,000-year time period, our era of suppression, as I've termed it, everything that could be taken away from us, anything that might serve as a reminder of who we truly were as a great people, was stripped away from us. Everything that could be taken from us was taken from us. All we were left with is our magnificent melanated bodies and our wandering souls. We are bound together, yet we're disconnected from each other. To paraphrase Dr. Jewel Poopum in describing melanin, she says, "Melanin is a pigment that ranges from pale yellow to reddish brown to blue-black. Melanin is found in every major organ of the body and has many different functions." Speaking from a strictly scientific perspective, Dr. Poopum goes on to say, in the body, melanin itself is biological living life. That term, melanin, new to anybody? Y'all pretty comfortable with having heard it? Some understanding of how it has been used, okay? Melanin is a light source interacting and reacting upon itself. This supports the contentions of our ancient ancestors and the Fahamme prophet in declaring that we are the children of light or the sun. We are the sons and daughters of Ra. There is more to be understood about melanin, but that topic is really outside the scope of this lecture. But even so, our melanated bodies and our soul is our launching pad into the future. Wandering souls. That is an apt description of the condition of our race currently. Our souls venture to and fro. We ramble here and there among the other nations of the world and find no lasting satisfaction among the cultures of any of the other nations of the world. Why is this? It is because the temperament of black people is different than the temperament of the people of other nations. Consequently, we cannot harmonize with the spiritual underpinnings of those cultures. In fact, it is for this reason that we don't even find acceptance by the other cultures of the world today, except as their subjects. Still, we continue on, seeking outwardly for something, an indistinct something that will satisfy our yearnings and give comfort to our beleaguered minds. The real object of our extensive searches is to gain or acquire a sense of belonging, a sense of connectedness, a sense that I have found home, to gain a feeling of acceptance of who we are as we are. This feeling of acceptance, when gained, will be a recognition of our true current state of being or condition, but it will not be an acceptance of an inability to be more than what we are. In other words, we're searching to discover who we are, what we're all about. And when we discover that, it will require that we take a good look at who we are, where we are, and acknowledge that where we are is truly not any place we ought to want to be. And when we recognize who we are and where we are, it will not be an acknowledgement that that is all that we can be, but that that is truly just a starting point in understanding who we are, where we are in time, and understanding of how we got to be here. And then began the long journey into the future to free ourselves from all of the shackles that still remain. So when we get there, we will have an acceptance of who we are, where we are, but it will not be an acceptance that we are unable to be more than we currently are, much more than we currently are. Increasingly, we are accepting that what we should be desirous of is an improved condition for all Kemites, not just an improvement for each of us individually. Well, my brothers and sisters, a state or condition of unity is what we seek, whether many of us realize it or not. We're seeking unity. We're seeking a way to belong and unite with each other. As I indicated earlier, our spiritual president has been revived and is exerting an influence over his subjects. So today, what I want to discuss with you is a perception of unity that you may not have heard before. It is a perception, it is a perspective introduced in 1919 by Paul Nathaniel Johnson, the Fahamme prophet. I would like to take you beyond the word unity and the common definitions provided for the word unity. I want to take you into an understanding of the condition of unity. All of the efforts of all of our people to contribute to the achievement of racial unity are meritorious and deserve the encouragement and support of each of us. There are a lot of us doing a lot of different things, all with the same end goal in mind. Those are all meritorious efforts, and they should all be recognized and supported by all of us. As I said earlier, it seems that the race is abuzz with all sorts of activities. And all these activities are geared toward, number one, self-expression. Some of these efforts at self-expression are good, and some are less than good. Number two, we're seeking a discovery and a recognition of ourselves. The way we see things in our mind and in our mind's eye is not clearly understood by even us, nor is it easily expressed in a culture that is not of our own making. And therefore, the way we tend to see things and the way we tend to express what we see inwardly, what we understand inwardly, is ridiculed and laughed at. The prophet's response to this dilemma we face was the command to develop our unique insight into a science, making it useful and practical. The difficulty that we experience in expressing our unique perspectives in this culture and in this language is the same problem other nations have when they attempt to explain our ancient concepts. Right? We can't think like them, so we can't give expression to what we want because we don't speak like we should. And they go and they gather up all this stuff, rob all the graves they can, read it and try to interpret this stuff, and they don't really get it either. Right? Neither of us have as yet caught the spirit of our ancient ancestors. That's what's required to understand. We can capture that spirit. Others cannot. Our mission today is to capture that spirit. And three, some of the activity that we're engaged in will lead to a recognition of our remote past and the achievements